Hello everyone and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Terran versus Protoss where we find ourselves on Blackburn. Spotting right here in the bottom left hand corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs from South Korea, we have Ryung. His opponent in the bottom right, playing with the red Protoss probes, likewise also from South Korea, we are looking at herO's main Nexus. And herO apparently running with the default, the Kaczynski portrait right here on the main Nexus. That's when you know you're dealing with a StarCraft 2 badass. You know that moment when you're on the loading screen of a StarCraft 2 match and you see one of your opponents, or maybe your one opponent is running the default skin? It's a little bit terrifying, man. It's when you know you're dealing with someone who didn't even bother changing it in the settings. Anyways, I don't think Ryung is going to be all too intimidated. He's already going to go for that Mecha Rex right outside of the main base. This is one of those little moves that Terran players like to do, just to, like, throw the Protosses ever so slightly off. Because at this point, I mean, herO should know that there is a barracks out there somewhere, but he knows that it's not inside of the main base, or at the very least not in the most likely location. It could be over here in this corner. He'll probably check that in just a little bit. He did successfully delay the gas right there for a little bit, so the refinery was ever so slightly delayed, just because herO was being very annoying. Playing Ring Around DeRosie inside of the main base here of the Terran player. Hey, fun fact, by the way, I'm just thinking of this this default portrait. I think I've mentioned this before in a StarCraft cast as well, like half a year ago when I first found out, but someone brought this up. Apparently kids these days, they use the word default as an insult. Now, back when I was a kid, playing video games definitely wasn't considered cool, so I guess it is, you know, it's a move in the right direction. Either way, apparently the reason why kids like to call each other defaults as an insult is because of the default Fortnite skin. So if you're running the default skin in Fortnite, apparently you're considered, like, cheap/poor. So therefore, it's an insult. Isn't that the greatest insult ever? I think it's pretty good. Anyways, in StarCraft 2, it's the exact opposite. When you're running the Kaczynski portrait, you're a bit of a badass. Yeah, I would say this is probably the most badass portrait. Other than the Loko one, obviously. The Loko portrait is where it's really at, but... Anyway, Stargate start right here from herO. He hasn't found out exactly what he's going up against yet, but I've got a feeling, yep, with the Reaper right now all the way back home, Ryung is going to be able to pick that off. Well, I guess he's going to be going for a command center relatively soon. He's going to need one. herO at this point scouted the timing right there of his opponent's factory. He knows that it's a pretty quick one, so he did see it start up there. Still just going to be content apparently going for a Nexus here on the low ground. I mean, he did already obviously go for his own Stargate as well. So neither player really going for super fast expos, but I do expect him to come up relatively soon. There we go. Ryung is going to be going for the in-base one just because he doesn't really want to split up his units all too much at this point. Anyways, a Zealot was made. Yeah, both players is playing a very safe one-base start here. Okay, he did see the Widowmine burrow there as well. So obviously, if you at this point have the command center building on the low ground, it becomes a bit of a disaster. There is still an SCV out here, so Ryung could get adventurous, but already the starport is started up, almost done even inside of the main base. So I'm not expecting any craziness here. Oracle, the very first one will be coming out soon, and actually it's a Void Ray follow-up. All right. So herO apparently using the Void Ray here a little bit more defensively. I think so, anyways. Could double down on the Void Rays as well if he really wants to. Now, by the way, if you're unfamiliar with either of these two players, I have covered herO a couple of times over the last few months, ever since he came back from the military. Very good Protoss player, very quickly improving as well. So as of me making this video on Aligalek, he's considered to be the rank 13 over in South Korea, so 1-3. Pretty impressive. He won a GSL Super Tournament, he also won an SSL, he's had a very successful career, but at some point he had to put a like 2-year halt to that career, just because of the mandatory military service over in South Korea. Similar story for Ryung. So Ryung also did complete his mandatory military service already. He's currently 30 years old, so a bit of an older pro gamer, but I mean, the age of StarCraft 2 professionals is slowly, it's slowly going up. Once upon a time, it was believed that, like, I don't know, 23 or so was maybe peak StarCraft age, but the older players are getting better. Either that or the younger players are getting worse. But realistically speaking, I mean, I don't know, man. People always say that, like, at least in StarCraft 1, the pro players get worse at like 26 or so. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that they wouldn't return to the game after completing their mandatory military service. Now, obviously, StarCraft 1 is, mechanically speaking, a little bit more intense than StarCraft 2. Also because the hotkeys and whatnot are pretty terrible. I mean, you can change those these days, but Players just simply wouldn't come back to the game after doing their military service. But these days, I mean, we see Jaedong returning, and we see other players coming back as well. It is pretty cool, and I do think that... I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that, like, 26 is when you physically get too slow to play StarCraft 2. I mean, the best comparison I can make is, like, guitar players, right? There's no way you get worse at playing the guitar when you're, like, 28. I don't believe it. If this is like something you've been doing for a long time, your StarCraft hands will not really change, right? Strategically speaking, and you know, you're obviously going to be more mature as well, right? You'll probably be more capable of dealing with stress and all that. I don't know. I don't think the cutoff. I mean, at some point when you get older, you're gonna get worse. But I don't think the cutoff point at the very least is 26, 27 or so. Or maybe I'm just in denial because I'm 29 myself. Maybe I'm just. Maybe. I don't want to talk about it, okay? Anyways, as we'll be making this video, rather, Ryung is currently considered to be the rank 22 over in South Korea, according to Aligalek. He did have a couple of good, I think, semi-final finishes over in the GSL Code S. He did win a bunch of smaller online tournaments as well, but as far as premier tournaments go, Ryung, if I'm not mistaken, hasn't won any major one, but he's always made it very deep. So definitely something you do want to keep in mind here, because I mean, he's rapidly improving. He came back earlier this year as well, just like herO, and both of these guys are pretty sick. Anyways, I basically downloaded a bunch of the replay packs that Alpha X has distributed recently. And I put them all in one big folder and then selected them on size. And I selected the longest replay for me to go ahead and cast. And that's this one. So we'll find out if it's a good one. Normally, actually, whenever I do that, I always hope that it's like a Terran versus Protoss whenever I do that. But it never really happens. Most of the time, it's a Zerg versus Protoss where both players just kind of sit back and do a whole lot of nothing. But if this is a longer game of TVP, I think we should be in for a pretty exciting one. Anyways, Ryung right here going for the classical triple barracks, stimp pack, combat shield, couple of medivacs, bunch of widow mines. Very late third command center though, because the third CC starts up right around the same time as herO is already, well, mining his, right? So at this point the scan will also reveal exactly where this Protoss player is located. Love this pylon right here. So on Blackburn, usually we see major attacks going straight through the center of the map. Obviously, if you go all the way around, it just simply slows down your push by like 10 seconds, which is not great. However, if you put down exactly static defense over here, it can help out both the natural as well as the third base. So if like Terran wants to engage over here, this is a really nice position. Storm is not done yet. Charge is just about to finish up. Interesting decision, by the way, to go straight into Storm. I feel like that's not something we've seen all too often recently. I feel like pretty much all the time we see players transitioning very rapidly towards those Colossi, but I guess it's because of the Stargate opener. Going into the Twilight Council and obviously the Templar Archives, the requirement is that you have a Templar Archives out. I can imagine the transition is a little bit more smooth. Did he just morph in the only two... No. Okay, I was going to say, I thought he just morphed in the only two High Templar he had into an Archon. The ones that had accumulated energy for a while. Instead, they're sitting right there inside of that Warp Prism. Honestly, at this point, I don't think herO really wants to push. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Instead, he goes for the fourth base already. And that's going to be over at the Golden Minerals. So that obviously allows this Protoss player to go for a bunch of Zealot run-bys and all that. A little bit of damage being done here, but ultimately, I don't think this is all too... I guess the feedbacks there earlier on the Medivacs actually are helping out quite a bit here. I was going to say, most of the time... A small group of Zealots like that doesn't really do all too much, but since he feedbacked these Medivacs earlier, I guess they couldn't heal up the units for nearly as long. Already, we've got Ghost here coming up as well. We do have ourselves the, Enhanced Shockwaves, if I'm not mistaken, which is what the ability is called. Basically increases the radius of the EMP, which is a super powerful skill. One of the skills that people don't really talk about too much, even though it's incredibly powerful. Probably the most powerful spell that Terrans have, unless you consider Widowmines a spellcaster, which theoretically, according to the game's coding, they are. But no, EMP, very good. It increases the radius of it by a significant amount, so indirectly it also increases the range of the EMP skill, so it becomes much easier for Ryung to hopefully force those High Templar to be without energy. So the High Templar, of course, have a skill called, well, Sonic Storm. It's the classic. It's a very sparkly skill. It's very dynamic. You know exactly what you're looking for. Whereas EMP is very quick, very speedy, and not nearly as flashy, but it's equally as powerful. Protoss players and Terran players will probably disagree with that statement. Protoss players probably think EMP is more powerful, and Terran players probably think Storm is more powerful. Anyways, Robo Bay is built right now, so herO is going to be able to make that double Colossus transition here very soon if he wants to. And in general here, this game, despite the fact that neither of these two players really started off very aggressively, they've mostly just been tiptoeing around each other, right? Yeah, so look at this. We're 10 minutes into it. Barely any units have died at this point. Maybe they're going to try and go for the diplomatic approach in this Terran versus Protoss. Oof. A discussion between the two races. Maybe they can settle who's better that way. Nice storms over here, though. Dealing a bunch of damage. Marauders wanted to overstay their welcome for a little bit. Good EMPs there as well. Eating a huge storm right there on the ramp. Is there enough for one more? There is. Even a second one. He's being very ambitious with those storms. herO is just sprinkling them on top of each other. Storms and EMPs and all of those skills in the game do not stack. So this is actually one of the most commonly and one of the most cringy things I ever see in viewer-submitted games. If you storm like 7 times in one spot, and the previous storm is still active, it does not stack. It doesn't deal more damage. It's just a flat amount of damage every time. So we have +1 flyer attacks coming up, as well as Colossi. Okay. So this Protoss player definitely is aiming for the late game. Probably looking at this, he's like, there's no way I'm going to win right now, but there's also no way you're going to be able to win right now. So instead, we'll just skirmish, and I'll replace the units that I'm losing here with higher quality ones. Man, he's running through those storms, though. He really wants to pick off the... He really wants to pick off the Archons right there, but that deals so much damage. At this point, I guess there is a healthy amount of medevacs to bring those units back up to full. Ryung is at a nice amount of supply as well. So we're going carriers together with Colossi. And 9 Zealots, but the Zealots are really just a mineral dump. Once again, good EMPs there, but once more, also not on top of the High Templar. Yeah, I think this may have been a bit of an overextension here from herO, though. I say that. Marines and Marauders are relatively easy to replace. If you could get 2 or more of those Immortals, then I definitely would call it an overextension. But herO is going to try and see if he can go back home right now. Those Terran units, much easier to replace. 5 Ghosts ended up going down there. Yeah. These are the types of units right over here. Together with, like, the Prism and then the High Templar, you really don't want to lose. Whereas, like, Marines, yeah, they're relatively easily replaceable. Although, don't tell them that. That would be a bit rude. This is kind of cool, though. So herO is going to go for the big hitters. He's got triple Stargate, it seems, already. Or maybe even quadruple Stargate. No, he's got 3. And going for the +1 flyer attacks makes them so much more powerful. Especially a big power spike hits right when +2 finishes. So I like the fact that herO actually started up those upgrades nice and early. A bit overly ambitious over there as well with that Disruptor. I think he probably should have just gone after the Widowmine instead. Yeah, definitely not what you wanted to do there. Players playing greedy. Terran, though, at this point, I don't know if he has... Has he seen the carriers? Maybe he has seen one of them. Or at the very least, he knows that there's a Prism out. He's already going for Vikings, is what I'm getting at. I would love to see a second starport, and that's exactly what he's building right now as well, to pump out those bad boys 4 at a time. You gotta need them. Carriers are, of course, very powerful, but maybe not as powerful as they are against Zerg, just because Terran does have some more reliable anti-air counters. Widowmine already preemptively burrowed here, waiting for that probe transfer. Speed is done at this point as well right there, by the way, for the Prism, so it's going to be able to get into position and out of position much easier. Widowmine over here at the back of the 3rd base as well. Looks like herO is not paying attention. 3 probes, though, end up going down, so not the end of the world. And this is where this Protoss army can deal one hell of a lot of damage. +2 has already started up. So carrier interceptor ships all benefit from every single one of those air weapon upgrades. And interceptor ships, as a matter of fact... Oh my god, huge storms. They do also fire from both sides once. Meaning that for every single one of those air weapon upgrades, Every 8 of those interceptor ships per carrier gains +2 damage per attack. Or I guess +1 per attack, but since they attack from both sides. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that carriers benefit from those air weapon upgrades a tremendous amount. So I love that herO was already researching those early. Concussive shells actually very late right here for Ryung. Probably already wanted that, but despite the fact that herO has been continuously fighting, and I do feel like he's been trading quite well over the last few minutes, we see Ryung doing the thing that Zerg players are very keen on. He's gonna go for a lot of static defense here to try and deal with all of those interceptor ships. Obviously, Spore Crawlers, though, can move around. Now, this is a big hit. Should be anyways. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be bigger than that. That is what no! It's not what she said. Anyways, he wants to go for run-bys over there. I think these Zealots will probably go in the exact same direction a little while later and then get killed by the exact same Widow Mines. I wouldn't be surprised anyways. We even now have the upgrade coming up as well for the Tempest. So herO just wants to go for the big heavy hitters. Isn't it kind of cool how, like, we do see a contrast between all the top-tier Protoss players where, like, for example, a Parting, right? Parting loves to play extremely Zealot Stalker heavy. Whereas herO is almost playing like he's playing Phoenix in co-op right now, where he's only making the big heavy hitters. I mean, that's how I play Phoenix anyways. Maybe I'm playing it wrong, but going for only like the herO units, right? I would love to see a Mama ship, speaking of herO units. So Disruptors, Carriers, High Templar, Archons, Immortals, Colossi, only the big hitters. I think he's slowly going to be replacing those Stalkers and Zealots as well with other units. Just going for the ultimate death ball. Alright, so Liberators are being added into the mix right here for Ryung. He's now got triple starports over here, all with reactors on them, so he can very quickly make those tech switches, which I really, really like. Going for the air weapon upgrades as well, which is also a great idea right here for him. And obviously, since now he's maxed out, this is what Terran players like to do. They add on additional command centers as well, not only just to take additional bases, but to make more orbitals, to be able to land more mules, and of course also to just continuously scan where that opponent army is located. So Ryung actually adding on 5 more command centers here. So that's 1,000, no, that's 2,000 minerals. Never do math in a video. Almost went horribly wrong. 400 times 5, yes, 2,000. Wasting 2,000, well, not wasting, but spending 2,000 minerals. All things that, yeah, will take quite some time to pay back for themselves. So Ryung definitely anticipating a bit of a longer game here. A little bit of harassment behind the golden minerals. There's some static defense over here as well. Started fire on the pylon. Instant recall though here by the Protoss player, so Protoss is going to be able to bring the heavy hitters back home. Not every single one though of these Protoss units was actually available for this. It's got to be careful. Yeah, just counter the target fire on the Medivacs. Doesn't matter actually. Just counter everything. Just kill it all. Blink, blink. Yep. Nicely done right there. Ryung going for the thing as well. What is this? Okay, I was thinking this was going to be a bit more of an active game than a Zerg versus Protoss, but it turns out it's kind of active like a Zerg versus Protoss is as well, where both players really want to fight, but we're getting to the point where we're just putting down 1 million defensive turrets everywhere out on the map just to make sure the carriers can't engage. And likewise, right now, herO is doing the same thing with static defense of his own, building shield batteries, building photon cannons. Just making sure that the Terran player can't engage. You know what I would really like to see? I would like to see a random Nexus just to be able to overcharge one of those shield batteries. A defensive Nexus. I think it does make sense though, because as we see almost every single macro game on Blackburn, the 12 o'clock base and the 6 o'clock base become incredibly important. So it makes sense if herO can get like a line of static defense over here for him then to secure the 12 o'clock. Anyways, those carriers are making things hard. There's even a nuke right now coming up on the production tab, which is pretty sweet. Looks like the Prism, though, did get picked off right there. Would love to see Ryung continuously harass here. He can definitely use this dead space. This is not something the Blink Stalkers can get underneath. My god, that's a lot of High Templar. 9 High Templar here with energy. Storms for days, although you gotta be careful they don't all get EMP'd. Yeah, the Vikings here are awesome, though, right? Boop. There you go. Carrier down the drain. You can really use the crevices and like the little debris that are all over the map here to the Terran's advantage. I love this. There's the famous duo once again, building armor and high-sec tracking. Additional structures here, or structure upgrades rather, for the Terran player. It's actually very helpful. Because the missile turrets do get +1 more range from high-sec auto-tracking. Makes them pretty good. Scan right over there does reveal that apparently Protoss did not put the probes inside of the gas geyser yet. Ooh, tactical nuke. Flying across the map. Going straight for this mineral line over here. I actually think it's a little far backwards. I feel like it should be a little bit closer, right in the middle there. Protoss players aren't used to dealing with this, man. Big nukes. At the same time, though, does Protoss really care? Is he really gonna, like, replace those lost workers right now with more workers? I've got a feeling, considering he's adding on more Stargates, that he's just gonna sort of let them die and add on more big hitters. 6 Vikings, though, coming up at once. I love the idea right here of Tempest. Tempests have a ton of air-to-air range. They can shoot much further away than they can see, so that's why these observers and a couple of oracles might not be a bad idea either. Yeah, so basically you throw Revelation on the units in the distance, and then have the Tempest shoot at their max range. They have much shorter... Oh god, another tactical nuke right here in the middle of the army. They have much shorter air-to-ground ranged, but still pretty significant. Alright, so using tactical nukes to shout at the opponent to get off their lawns. Fair enough. I don't know how this works out, actually. Look at this. We have 2 more. 2 more Ghost Academies coming up. 4 Tempests on the production tab all at once. My god. Alright, huge storm right there. Oof. You cannot afford those kinds of storms here if you're Ryung. Guess that's what the High Templar are here for. That being said, it looks like most of the High Templar also either already spent all of their energy, or they got EMP'd, which is more likely, I guess. This is a very hard unit composition to control, though, from both sides. Multiple tactical nukes, by the way. There's another one. Same location as previously, this time around from the high ground. This could be a lot of probes once again, because herO is so keen on looking at his main army. Yeah, Protoss players never get nuked, man. Zerg players get nuked all the time. No response at all from herO. Loses another 14 workers. Immediately starts up 5 new probes. Zerg players have been getting nuked since 2010. Protoss players have seen that skill maybe 3 times. A little bit sloppy, though. Because, I mean, if you think about it, where are you likely going to be nuked? Well, I don't think it's going to be up here. So the most likely location is the one right over here. Okay. 3rd time's the charm, apparently, here for herO. Going for the exact same location once again. Come on, herO, for Ryung, rather. Come on, herO. No. Really? No, bro. Really? Alright. Feel like there could have been even more workers going on. He doesn't care, though. He's just concerned right here about the main army. He knows that if he lands one good storm on these Vikings, that's game over. He's also now picking off all of those units from a distance here with those Tempests. Yeah, the missile turrets are also being destroyed. Okay. Tactical nuke number 4 or 5? I don't know. According to the game, it's number 2. Nice. No, I never know how this works. It shows a little number 2 right there on the nuke icon, but I don't know what it means. No. Okay, thought the Vikings were gonna fly into that themselves. I mean, it was only 2 Vikings, maybe a bit of an overreaction by me, but... Oh god. Both Disruptors and Storm, though. This is one hell of a Protoss army. Incredibly difficult to engage this. Ryung desperately trying to micro against it, but so far, I feel like he's been getting out-controlled heavily here by herO. herO, though, doesn't have a whole lot of income here, but does he really need it? Because he's already built the Death Ball. This is what Protoss players dream about, right? At night. They're like, ooh, yes, Disruptor hits. Storms, Carriers, Tempest. And then I guess a couple of Archons and Stalkers and Zealots and stuff, but you don't really dream of those. I dreamed a dream of Tempest and Carriers. It's my favorite song. From Les Miserables. Is that what it is? I think so. No, I pressed the wrong button. Ah! Alright, anyways, tactical nuke. We saw the smoke right there at the tail end of it. Very ambitious Ghost here. Almost nuking himself. Decided to cancel it at the last second. That nuke right now is somewhere in orbit. Around the Blackbird. Very dangerous, man. You can't be so, ambitious with a tactical nuke and then decide, you know what, didn't want it anyway. That's not a good example of how to use tactical nukes. Tactical nukes make very little sense in this game anyways. You're like, okay, what do we do? The Ghost has to angrily stare at the place where he wants to nuke the entire time, and if the ghosts get killed, all of a sudden, magically, the nuke doesn't land. Anyways, 3-3 upgrades coming up here, though, for the Terran player. Inside of the armories. So, that's not just the bio units, that's for the flyers. Those Vikings are gonna deal a lot of damage. How many Vikings are we on? 14, okay. He must have lost quite a few of them. 20, okay, so 14 Liberators and 20 Vikings. That's where the Tempests are really strong. Neither player really has a whole lot of workers here. So unlike Terran versus, or Zerg versus Protoss rather, usually those bases, the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock, get mined pretty early, but herO only just now really heading on over in that direction. I think we need to nuke this. I think nuking that makes way more sense. So are we gonna go for a full-on Sky Terran army with ghosts? Ghosts really are so good, aren't they? I feel like they might want to transfer some of the power of the ghosts to like other units. Because ghosts almost seem a little bit too good. Anyways, Ryung saying something. I can try and use Google Translate, but... Okay, I think herO might not respond. PTSD? Oh god. Hold up. Let me try and see if Google Translate works. So according to... Oh my god, it keeps switching between all kinds of different translations. Okay, so Ryung may be saying go and go, or go on, and then apparently herO says brother PTSD. Alright. Very... I don't know exactly how accurate it is. It basically switches between a bunch of different translations all the time. Let me try and see what this thing over here at the bottom says. I'm not looking at the screen right now, is that bad? Both get hurt, I think is what Ryung says. Maybe someone in the comment section can let us know the actual translations. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. When you point Google Translate at, like, Korean text, it just switches between, like, 7 different meanings constantly. I'm sure there's only one that's correct, but I guess it's all kind of in the similar, or in a similar, you know, category. Anyways, Tempest over here from a distance, gunning away at whatever they can. The ghost over here, okay. Not, well, it is revealed, so he could easily get it, but... Not. herO's just mixing in English words. Okay, hold up, I need to translate this as well. So according to Google Translate, herO says not min su, but I don't know what that means. I know that this is laughing though. I know on the Korean keyboard you can quite literally hold down any key to indicate laughter. But commonly it's that one. Anyways. Dancing back and forth right here over a golden base that is for the most part already mined out. I'm liking this position for herO more and more though. Would have loved to see a second Cybercore a little while ago as well to start double upgrading before, you know, +3 attack was done, but still, not bad whatsoever. Going into the +3, is that the, what is that? No, it is +3 armor, yes. It's the blue collar, and also the +3 shields. Pretty good. I think it might be important for Ryung to start taking this one over here. I actually really like that herO has been continuously placing stasis wards at the 6 o'clock. Anticipating his opponent moving on over there. Yeah, so I guess both of these guys were just talking about the fact that they were both losing in this game. Maybe it's because they're playing such a passive match, because in my opinion so far, herO is looking pretty powerful here. And ultimately, I mean, he's the one deciding this game, right? It's not like Ryung signed up for this. Ryung forced to make a reaction there to this sort of army. So we're on 8 Tempest here and 1 Carrier. Honestly, it's not even really that many Skytools units. It looks like a full-on Skytools death ball, but it really isn't. So you don't really want to get too carried away on air units either and just, you know, go completely on the Skytools counter, because then you get destroyed by everything else. Oh my god, Disruptor hits right there. Huge hits. That was a lot of damage there being done by herO. herO, though, felt a little bit guilty as well. And decided to, oh my god, give away the Disruptors that did those hits. My god, that's a lot of damage being done. At this point, though, apparently most of the energy and storms are gone. So that does mean that Ryung can actually counterattack here. Dealing a ton of damage here. Doesn't care about the shield batteries. He can just out-repair them. Does need to target fire down the units, though. Okay, Tempest are being destroyed. Colossi are being destroyed. But looks like the most of the Terran Terran ground army here also is not doing so hot. Liberators apparently didn't have their advanced ballistics upgrade just yet. So they had quite a bit less ranged. So look at herO, right? Constantly falling back right there to the safety of his static defense. Scan right there at the 6 o'clock does reveal that Protoss didn't take that one yet, but already herO does have a full extra base right here on his opponent. He's going back towards the ground army, so Colossi are coming up here instead. No additional carriers here or anything along those lines. herO does also have a nice bank, but okay, there's 4 Tempests. I was gonna say, he does need to spend it. You can add on like 20 more Zealots, but is that really what you want? Okay. I mean, Zealots are pretty good here, though. To be honest. They can deal a lot of damage. But I guess at this point, harassment is not what you're looking for anymore. You're looking to just kill the armies. And Zealots are going to be pretty good at that, but I'm pretty sure Terran is always going to fall back right here to the safety of the planetary if you decide to engage with a lot of Zealots. So he's got 5 Stargate Tempest. Stalkers coming up as well. Yeah, we're going to do this dance for a little while longer. I'm starting to be a little bit concerned here for our Terran player, because he doesn't have a lot of income anymore. So if you look right here at the income, yeah, he just doesn't have a lot of mineral patches to mine. I mean, for now, for the next couple minutes, he's fine. But he does really need to secure a new base. So already, prematurely landing the mules. Okay, he knows he's not going to be able to take it, actually. So he's just going to long distance mine over here. It's just energy. He doesn't care about energy. Ah, you know what? That's a good amount of minerals there. That's gonna, yeah. It's gonna give him... it's gonna take forever to mine out a base like that, but... It's gonna give him a nice little boost as far as the income goes. That's actually kind of cool. I really like that. Vikings over here still being as obnoxious as ever. Sky Terran versus Sky Toss. Neither player really wants to commit to full-on Sky Terran or full-on Sky Toss, because then you just get destroyed by ground units once again, but... I do quite like this little move, though. It's long-distance mining the mineral patches on the left side. Imagine we have a Nexus over here, too, and he mines the right side of the 4 mineral fields. Okay. With Revelation right there, those Tempests can actually fire away at all of those SCVs. That was a good amount of minerals, though, that Ryung just got, and he needs them. He needs them badly. Does he have any money here? Okay, he could just transfer over here. He still has about 1,500 minerals over there. I actually really think he should send a couple of workers over there. herO still with 4,000 resources in the bank and currently maxed out. But he's worried. He doesn't really want to fight this army straight on if he can at all avoid it. So instead we're just sort of tiptoeing around each other. EMP? No EMP. I feel like we could have EMP'd a bunch of units here. Is that the old main base? It is, dude. Not cool, man. Not cool, herO. That's the old main command center. That thing has been alive for over 30 minutes now. In StarCraft terms, that's a very long time. I feel like we should have nuked over here, shouldn't we? He doesn't have a nuke available at this point. God, the Protoss death balls are scary, aren't they? Whew. Still, it's extremely easy to accidentally overextend here with this Protoss army as well, because it's really not that feisty. I mean, it's strong. Oh god, huge storms, massive disruptor hits as well. Ryung now coming in from another angle as well. Beautiful anticipation right there by herO, already throwing those bowling balls, the disruptors a little bit further forward. Is there enough right now, though, for the Terran player to break through all of this? herO still has a lot of those heavy hitters that he's been making up in the air. And there it is. Bye and GG was mentioned by Ryung, and herO does obtain the victory.